He slid my own card across the counter and told her there was 130 sitting there. I watched the cashier's smile disappear when her screen lit up with a question I never taught it to ask. She looked at the signature on file, then at the woman holding my perfume, the exact scent I wore for 20 years, batch code and all. Her finger hovered over a button I couldn't see from where I sat in my car, engine idling, snow collecting on the wipers like seconds I couldn't get back. That's where this starts. A checkout line at Bellwether department store on a Saturday 3 days before Christmas. But the truth? It started decades earlier, in a different kind of line, the one outside a billing office when I didn't know if we'd keep the lights on. My name is Mae Duarte. I'm 56. I schedule oncology appointments during the week and coordinate hospice transport on weekends. I've done this for 11 years, ever since the medical bills from my ex-husband's surgeries stopped feeling like an emergency and started feeling like a life sentence. I learned to budget in envelopes. I learned to say no to myself so often that yes felt like a foreign language. The $130,000 everyone keeps talking about? That's not idle cash sitting in some account waiting to be spent on leather coats and limited edition sneakers. That number is a fortress I'd built brick by brick, paycheck by paycheck, side gig by side gig. While my son Kian was in high school and my father Jax reminded me every Sunday, security is quiet, Mary. It doesn't shout. So I named the card Quiet. 80,000 sits in a high-yield savings account I opened the day my divorce papers cleared. That money is my post-OIN insurance policy, the promise I made myself that I'd never again wake up to find someone else had emptied the checking account to cover a job that fell through. 30,000 more lives in a healthcare cushion account, the kind with tax advantages if you use it right. I got close to bankruptcy once because Owen didn't believe in insurance and his back gave out during a roofing job. I will not go back to that edge. The last 20,000 laddered certificates of deposit, maturing in January. They are earmarked for the roof replacement I've been patching with tarps and prayer since 2023. The contractor's deposit check is already written. It sits in a folder on my kitchen counter labeled January Ladder. I keep one debit card linked to the high-yield account. Emergency transfers only. Internal moves when the math lines up. The card itself lives in a drawer under my bed, next to the manual for the furnace and the deed to this house. I took a photo of it once, front and back, because Kian insisted I needed a password manager and a digital backup for everything. Mom, what if you lose your purse? What if the house floods? You need redundancy. He was 24 then, fresh into his tech support job, still living here while he saved for his own place. He meant well. He set up the app, showed me how to save the image, how to autofill forms if I ever needed to move money fast. He used the family iPad, the one we'd shared since he was in 10th grade, the one that still had his Apple ID linked even after he moved out. I never thought about that detail. Not until the day I sat in a parking lot across from my son and his wife, watching them carry bags from 3 stores I'd never shopped in, paid for with a card nicknamed Quiet that was supposed to stay silent forever. Have you ever saved someone's login because it was easier than signing out? Have you ever assumed permission because no one said no out loud? Drop a comment. I want to know if I'm the only one who missed the warning signs. Christmas dinner at my house is a tradition older than Kian's marriage. Every year, same rules. Bring one dish, share one story from the past 12 months, and leave your pride at the door. We've always been a family that helped each other, small loans, IOUs on napkins, gas money when someone's check was late. My sister CEC keeps a tin full of those little debts, paid back by New Year's every single time. This year, I set the table the same way I always do. Plates for 7. Cloth napkins folded into swans because my mother taught me that ritual matters. But this year, I added something new. An empty place card at the head of the table. One word written in my neatest handwriting. Consent. No one asked me about it when I set it down. But I saw them looking. I saw Kian's jaw tighten. I saw Talia's eyes flick to Renata, her mother, who sat across from her scrolling through her phone like the word didn't apply to her. I didn't explain. Not yet. Because some lessons need a foundation before you build the walls. Let me take you back to that checkout line. The one where everything I thought I knew about my son started to crack. The cashier, her name tag said Amoria, 19 years old, seasonal hire trying to make rent, scanned a bottle of perfume. Maison Ardent, $340 retail, the same warm vanilla and powder scent I used to wear before I decided luxury was a language I couldn't afford anymore. The register beeped. Then it beeped again, a different tone. Sharper. Amoria's smile didn't just fade. It froze. She glanced at the screen, then at Talia, then at the line forming behind them. She leaned toward the supervisor station and pressed a button I recognized from my years working retail in my 20s. The "I need help, don't make a scene" button. A man in a bellwether polo appeared. He looked at the screen. He looked at Talia. He asked, very politely, "Is this your card?" Talia hesitated, just half a second. But in that pause, I heard Renata's voice through the AirPod in Talia's ear. I couldn't make out the words from my car, but I knew the tone. Coaching, directing, smoothing. Talia smiled. Family card. The supervisor's eyebrows rose. Can we verify with the cardholder? Kian stepped forward. Smooth, confident. The version of my son I raised to solve problems, not create them. She's in surgery today. No phones allowed. We can call her tonight if you need. The lie was clean. Practiced. It slid out so easily I almost believed it myself. Except I wasn't in surgery. I was sitting 50 feet away in an RAV4 with a cracked windshield, hands locked on the steering wheel, phone on speaker with Nadine Farrell from my bank on the other end. Nadine's voice was calm. Procedural. Mrs. Duarte, we're seeing unusual activity. Multiple high-ticket purchases across 2 malls in under 3 hours. I can decline the next authorization if you'd like. I could have said yes. I could have shut it down right there. 1 word, and the transaction would bounce. Talia would be embarrassed. Kian would scramble for an explanation. The supervisor would apologize and ask them to leave. But I didn't. Let it go through, I said. But put a freeze on the account immediately after. I want timestamps. I want signatures. I want a copy of the surveillance footage if your system flags it. Nadine paused. Mrs. Duarte, if you're authorizing this. I'm not authorizing anything, I said. I'm documenting. Why would a mother let her son and daughter-in-law spend $75,000 on coats and sneakers and perfume she used to wear herself? Why would she sit in a parking lot with snow falling and her knuckles white and let the purchase go through? I'll tell you. But first, you need to understand what Kian didn't know I knew. You need to understand the folder in my glove compartment, the late notices I found tucked under his passenger seat the last time I borrowed his car, and the number at the bottom of those notices that didn't match any bank I'd ever heard of. You need to understand that this wasn't about the money. It was about the line between gift and theft. The line my father drew in permanent marker every Sunday when he said, "You ask first, Miri, even family." That line has a name. It was sitting at my dinner table 3 days later, printed on a place card no one wanted to touch. Consent. If you've ever watched someone you love cross a boundary and stayed silent because you didn't know how to speak up without burning it all down, type boundary in the comments. I need to know I'm not alone. Kian didn't steal the card. Not in the way you're picturing, late-night drawer rifling, guilt-slick palms, a whispered plan. He didn't need to. He already had it. Saved. Backed up. Cached in a password manager on a device we'd been sharing since he was 16 years old. Let me take you back 4 years. Kian was 24, living in my guest room while he banked paychecks from his new tech support job. He was the kid who set up my router, reset my email password twice a month because I couldn't remember if the 0 was a letter or a number, and convinced me that cloud storage wasn't a government surveillance trap. "Mom, you need redundancy," he said one Sunday afternoon, sitting cross-legged on my kitchen floor with the family iPad balanced on his knees. "What if your purse gets stolen? What if the house floods? You need digital backups." I trusted him. Why wouldn't I? He was organized, responsible. The kid who made spreadsheets for grocery lists and color-coded his college loan repayment tracker. So when he said I needed to photograph my cards, front and back, and store them in a password manager app, I handed him my wallet. He snapped the pictures, entered my name, saved the file under Emergency, Mom's card. Then he synced it to the family iCloud account, the one we'd been using since his sophomore year of high school, the one still linked to his email. I didn't think about it again. Not when he moved out 8 months later. Not when he married Talia 2 years ago. Not when he traded in his old sedan and started wearing sneakers that cost more than my electric bill. I should have. Because here's the thing about access. It doesn't expire just because someone moves out. It doesn't reset when the circumstances change. Digital permission is permanent until someone actively revokes it. And I didn't know I needed to. Kian told himself he had permission. He told himself a lot of things that fall. That the BNPL charges stacking up on his credit report were just timing issues. That the $7,000 personal loan he co-signed with Talia for her boutique inventory venture would pay itself back by the holidays. That the layoff rumors circulating through Slack channels at his fintech startup were exaggerated. He told himself that borrowing from me, temporarily, just to float things, just until his January bonus cleared, was the same as all those other times we'd helped each other. The $200 I slipped him for car insurance when he was 22. The $500 CECE lent him for his security deposit. The $3,500 I sent last month labeled roof deposit that somehow never turned into a roofing company showing up at my house. He told himself family money was soft money, flexible, forgivable. What he didn't tell himself was the truth. Access isn't permission. But Kian was drowning. Not loudly. Not the kind of drowning where people notice and throw life preservers. The quiet kind. The kind where you smile at family dinners and compliment someone's casserole and swallow the panic rising in your throat because admitting you're sinking feels like admitting you failed. $42,000 in debt. Spread across 2 credit cards, 3 BNPL platforms, and that personal loan with Talia's signature next to his. Rent 2 months late because he kept prioritizing minimums over the landlord. A closet full of clothes he bought to look senior at work because someone told him promotions go to people who dress like they've already arrived. And then there was Talia Voss, 26 years old. Boutique stylist at a high-end shop where clients drop 4 figures on a single outfit and tip in gift cards. She grew up in a house where new clothes came from church donation bags and school uniforms went through the dryer overnight because there was only one set. She learned daily that presentation was survival, that people didn't take you seriously if your shoes were scuffed or your purse was lost season. Her mother Renata taught her that. Renata Voss runs a salon 2 towns over, the kind of place where women get balayage and Botox under the same roof, where conversations about money sound like strategy sessions. Renata's client list includes wives of developers, real estate agents who flip houses for sport, and women who rotate luxury cars like handbags. Renata looks at those women and sees a formula, a code. She thinks if Talia just presents right, dresses right, networks right, opportunities will materialize. She doesn't see the credit limits or the family money or the inherited wealth underneath the cashmere and confidence. She just sees the cashmere, and she wants her daughter wrapped in it. People treat you how you present, Renata says, over and over. In the salon chair, over text, through the AirPods Talia wears when they shop together. You can't show up to a networking event looking like you can't afford to be there. Talia internalized that message so deeply it became her operating system. Luxury wasn't indulgence. It was armor. Discounts weren't wins. They were admissions of scarcity. And asking for help? That was defeat. So when Kian sat her down at their kitchen table one morning in mid-December and said, "I have a way to fix this," she didn't ask questions. She just listened. "My mom has savings," he said. "A lot of it. She won't miss a few thousand for a month. I'll move it back after my bonus." Talia frowned. "Did you ask her?" Kian hesitated, and in that hesitation, the lie took shape. "She's family. She'd want us to be okay." Would and want. Future tense. Hypothetical permission. The kind of logic that sounds reasonable when you're scared and exhausted, and the alternative is eviction or collections calls or another passive-aggressive text from Renata asking why Talia didn't wear the coat she sent a link for. How much is there? Talia asked. Kian looked at his phone. At the password manager app. At the card image saved under emergency, Mom's card. He'd seen the account balance once, months ago, when he helped mail transfer funds for a medical bill. He remembered the number because it was the kind of number that made problems feel small. 130, he said. There's $130,000 sitting there. Talia's eyes widened. Not greed. Shock. Relief. The kind of exhale you make when you realize you might not drown after all. She didn't know about the high-yield structure, the HSA cushion, the CD ladder. She didn't know that $130,000 wasn't a pile of discretionary cash. It was a fortress with a purpose assigned to every brick. She just heard the number, and the number sounded like permission. Are you sure? She asked. I'm sure, Kian said, and he handed her the card number. Saved on a screenshot. Easy to copy. Easier to justify. What's the hardest financial line you've ever crossed because you convinced yourself it wasn't really crossing? Comment access, if you've ever blurred the difference between permission and proximity. Talia didn't plan a spree. She planned a fix. A few thousand to clear the boutique loan. A coat Renata had been hinting about for weeks. Clients notice. Talia. They judge. Sneakers for Kian, so he'd stop scrolling StockX at 2 a.m., paralyzed by decision fatigue and the fear that his wardrobe was costing him the promotion he needed to fix everything. And the perfume. Maison Ardent. The same scent Mael used to wear before medical debt turned luxuries into ghosts. Talia told herself it was a bridge. A short-term fix. Kian would move the money back in January. Mael would never notice. They'd laugh about it years later over wine and casserole. Just another IOU in the family tin. Another story for the Christmas dinner table. She didn't see the compound interest. The ethical rot. The way one rationalization leads to another until you're standing in a checkout line holding someone else's signature scent and calling it borrowing. She didn't see it until the cashier's smile disappeared. And by then, I was already watching from the parking lot, hand steady on the wheel, deciding how to teach a lesson that didn't destroy the people I loved. Because consent isn't just a word. It's the foundation. And when you build without it, everything collapses. Even family. Team accountability or team forgiveness. Where do you stand? Drop your take in the comments. This story doesn't have easy answers. The first late notice arrived in October. Bright red envelope. The kind that doesn't pretend to be anything but a threat. Kian found it wedged under his apartment door when he got home from work at 9 p.m., the third consecutive night he'd stayed late trying to prove his value while layoff rumors circulated like a virus through the office Slack channels. He didn't open it right away. He knew what it said. Rent. $1,850. Due. October 1st current date. October 18th late fee. $150. He shoved it in his glove compartment with the others. Insurance premium. Credit card minimum. A polite but firm letter from the personal loan servicer reminding him that Talia's boutique inventory venture was contractual his responsibility too, regardless of whether the inventory ever sold. The boutique loan was supposed to be a winner. Talia's manager at the shop had pitched it as a sure thing. Buy premium resale inventory at estate sales, clean it up, flip it through the store's consignment program, split the profit. Low risk, high margin. Except the estate sales turned out to be picked over by professional resellers who got there at dawn, and the consignment program took a 40% cut Talia hadn't factored into her math. They'd borrowed $7,000 in July. By November, they'd recouped $1,200. Kian's name was on the loan. His credit score was sinking like a stone in a well. And then there were the shoes. He started noticing them in September. The sneakers his coworkers wore. Limited drops. Collaborations with artists he'd never heard of. $300, $500, sometimes $800 for a pair of Nikes that looked identical to the $60 ones he bought at the outlet. But people noticed. They commented. Oh, you got the Travis Scotts. Those off-whites are clean, man. Kian didn't care about sneakers, but he cared about perception. He cared about the promotion that kept getting dangled just out of reach. Senior support lead, $18,000 raise, the kind of bump that would let him breathe again. His manager kept saying the same thing. You're doing great work, Kian, but leadership wants someone who looks ready for client-facing roles. Client-facing. Code 4. Dress like you've already made it. So Kian bought the shoes. One pair in October, another in November. He told himself it was an investment. Networking currency. The cost of playing the game. He put them on a BNPL app. 4 interest-free payments. Except he missed the third payment on the first pair because rent was late and the app auto-charged the full balance plus a $40 fee. Then the second pair hit the same snag. By December, he owed $1,680 on sneakers he was too anxious to wear. The math was suffocating. Rent, insurance, credit cards, BNPL platforms, the boutique loan. He'd open his banking app and close it 5 seconds later because seeing the balances felt like staring into a void. Negative $240 in checking. $8,400 on one credit card. $6,200 on another. Minimum payments stacking up like accusation letters he couldn't answer. And the bonus. The January bonus his manager mentioned in passing during their October check-in. If we hit Q4 targets, we're looking at performance bonuses in the 10 to 15% range. Kian latched onto that sentence like a lifeline. 15% of his salary was $9,000. Enough to clear the boutique loan, catch up on rent, and chip away at the credit cards. Enough to stop the bleed. Except his manager had also said if they hit targets, if the client renewals came through, if leadership approved the bonus pool. Kian deleted the if. He needed certainty. So he gave himself certainty. He told Talia the bonus was coming. He told himself the bonus was enough. He built a budget in his head where January solved everything. All he needed was a bridge. 2 months. Maybe 3. And his mother had $130,000 sitting in an account doing nothing. Have you ever convinced yourself a problem would fix itself if you just made it to next month? Drop bridge, if you've lived in that dangerous space between hope and denial. Across town, CEC Rocha sat at her kitchen table with a Christmas tin and a calculator. CEC ran a tax prep service out of her house 9 months a year. The other 3 months, she baked, she knitted, and she kept the family books. Not officially. No one asked her to. But someone had to remember who borrowed what, who paid it back, and who still owed interest in the form of a favor or casserole. The tin was old. Butter cookie brand, faded blue, dented on one side from the time Kian dropped it as a kid. Inside, napkin IOUs, torn envelope flaps with dollar amounts and dates, a few actual promissory notes written on legal pads during family emergencies. CEC laid them out in chronological order. Most were closed loops. Mae loaned Owen $800 in 2018 for a tool he needed. Owen paid it back in 3 months. CEC loaned Kian $500 for his apartment deposit in 2021. He Venmo'd it back 6 weeks later with a $20 coffee card as interest. But one entry nagged at her. October 2025. A Cash App transfer from Mae to Kian, $3,500. Memo line, roof deposit. CEC frowned. She'd been at Morel's house twice since October. No roofing crew. No new shingles. The same blue tarp sagging over the east corner. The same bucket catching drips in the hallway when it rained. She picked up her phone and called the roofing company Mae had mentioned last summer. A man answered on the 3rd ring. Duarte, he repeated, checking his records. No deposit on file. We did an estimate back in August, but she never called to schedule. CEC thanked him and hung up. She stayed at the tin. $3,500. No roof. No explanation. She didn't call Mae. Not yet. She just wrote a note on a sticky pad and stuck it to the tin lid. Ask Kay about roof dollar. CEC believed in giving people room to explain themselves. But she also believed in documentation. 15 miles away, in a modest ranch house that smelled like coffee and Old Spice, Jax Rocha opened a closet and pulled out a wool coat he hadn't worn in 5 years. Jax was 81, retired machinist, widower. His memory slipped sometimes. He'd forget where he put his glasses, or what day the trash went out. But money? Money he remembered with the precision of a man who'd spent 40 years measuring tolerances to the thousandth of an inch. Every December, Jack set aside cash. Not in a bank. In an envelope. He didn't trust digital transfers or apps or any system where a number on a screen could vanish with a keystroke. He trusted paper. He trusted his own 2 hands counting bills in denominations he could see. This year's envelope was thick. $4,200. Overtime checks from his last 3 years on the job, saved and rolled forward, plus small monthly additions from his pension. He'd been planning this for 18 months. The envelope had a label, written in his shaky but deliberate cursive, for MS Roof, so she keeps her safety. Jack's new mail was careful. Too careful, maybe. She wouldn't ask for help even if the roof caved in. So he wasn't going to ask. He was just going to give. Slip the envelope into her hand at Christmas dinner, tell her it was a gift from her mother's memory, and refuse any argument. He folded the envelope into the inner pocket of the wool coat. Safe. Secure. Then he forgot he put it there. 2 days later, a volunteer from St. Catherine's Church knocked on his door collecting winter coats for the annual drive. Jax, eager to help, grabbed the wool coat from the closet and handed it over with a smile. The volunteer thanked him, loaded the coat into a bin, and drove away. The envelope rode along, invisible and unnoticed, toward a destination Jax never intended. Back at Kian's apartment, the walls were closing in. December 15th, 10 days before Christmas. Rent now $2,000 with late fees. Credit card minimums due in 3 days. The boutique loan servicer sent an email with the subject line, "Final notice before referral to collections." Talia was spiraling too, but quietly. She'd smile at clients, recommend the $400 scarves, ring up sales with the same bright energy she always had. Then she'd sit in her car after her shift and stare at her bank balance. $127. Renata called every other night. "Did you get the coat? What are you wearing to the Henderson party?" "Talia, you can't network in last year's boots. People notice." Renata's own finances were a disaster she refused to name. A salon remodel she financed at 19% interest. A microloan from a company that sent texts in the middle of the night. Payment overdue. Contact us immediately to avoid escalation. She was 2 months behind, penalties compounding, and she couldn't let Talia know because admitting failure meant admitting the formula was broken. So she pushed. Buy the coat. Get the purse. Present like you belong, and belonging will materialize. Talia wanted to believe her. Belief was easier than math. Kian sat on the edge of his bed at 11 p.m. on December 18th, staring at his phone. The Password Manager app was open. The card image glowed on the screen. Emergency, Mom's card. He'd looked at it a dozen times over the past 2 weeks. Each time, he'd close the app and promised himself he'd figure something else out. But there was nothing else. The bonus was theoretical. The debt was real. The eviction notice would be real in 30 days if he didn't pay. He thought about his mother's house, the tarp on the roof, the folder on her counter labeled January ladder. He thought about the $3,500 she'd sent him in October that he'd used to cover minimums instead of a roof deposit. She had more. She'd be fine. He'd pay her back. This was family. Family helped. He took a screenshot of the card, front and back. He texted it to Talia. "Use this tomorrow. There's $130,000 sitting there. We'll move it back in January." Talia's reply came fast. "Are you sure?" Kian typed and deleted 3 responses before settling on the one that let him sleep that night. "I'm sure." Is intent enough to redeem method? If someone plans to fix a wrong later, does that change the wrong itself? Comment intent, or method. I want to see where you draw the line. The conversation happened over breakfast. Not to sit down, talk it through breakfast. The kind where you're both moving, pouring coffee, checking phones, half-dressed, late for different places. Kian stood at the counter in a wrinkled button-down, scrolling through work emails he wasn't really reading. Talia was at the table, laptop open, staring at her boutique sales dashboard. 18 days until Christmas. Inventory moving slower than projected. Her manager had already hinted that commission checks might be adjusted for shortfall. Kian set his phone down. I sent you something last night. Talia looked up. The card. He nodded. Casual. Like it was a grocery list. Use it today if you need to. Clear the boutique loan. Get the coat your mom keeps talking about. Whatever stops the noise. Talia's chest tightened. She wanted to ask the questions stacking up in her throat. Did you ask her? Are you sure she won't notice? What if something goes wrong? But asking felt like doubt. And doubt felt like accusing Kian of something he was doing for her, not to her. How much can I use? She asked instead. Kian poured coffee into a travel mug, his back to her. There's 130 sitting there. It's safe. Take what you need. I'll move it back after my bonus. 130. $130,000. The number was so large it didn't feel real. It felt like a concept, an abstraction. Talia had never seen that much money in one place. Her childhood savings account had topped out at $340. Her checking account had never broken 4 figures. When's the bonus? She asked. January, Kian said. Fast. Confident. No hesitation. The tone of a man who'd already convinced himself. Talia wanted to believe him. Belief was a gift she'd been giving herself for months. Belief that the boutique loan would pay off, that the right coat would lead to the right client, that presentation could rewrite the story of where she came from. Her phone buzzed. A text from Renata. Did you order the coat? Henderson's party is Saturday. You can't show up looking like you're struggling. Talia looked at Kian. He was watching her now, the coffee mug halfway to his lips, waiting for her to say yes so he could stop holding his breath. Okay, she said. Kian exhaled. Okay. He kissed the top of her head and grabbed his keys. I'll see you tonight. Don't stress. It's handled. The door closed behind him. The apartment was quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic on the highway. Talia opened her phone, found the screenshot, stared at the card number, the expiration date, the 3-digit code on the back. She didn't think about Mae sitting in a hospital billing office in 2014, negotiating payment plans with her last $11 in checking. She didn't think about the CD ladder or the HSA cushion or the high-yield account structure that made $130,000 a fortress, not a fund. She thought about the coat, the loan, the texts from Renata, the fear that one wrong move, one visible crack, and the life she'd been building would collapse. She copied the card number. Her phone buzzed again. Renata. Voice memo this time. Talia, I'm serious. You need the Henderson connection. His wife runs that interior design firm. She could send you clients for years. But you have to look the part. People decide in the first 3 seconds whether you're worth their time. Don't waste the opportunity. Talia pressed play on the memo again. And again. The words looped in her head like a script she'd memorized without meaning to. People decide in 3 seconds. She opened the boutique's website. Added the coat to her cart. $1,850. Charcoal wool. Tailored fit. The kind of thing that photographs well and makes people ask where you got it. Then she opened another tab. Sneakers for Kian. The ones he'd been looking at for weeks. Limited edition. $620. Then another. Maison Ardent. The perfume Renata had mentioned once. That's what Mae used to wear, right? She always smelled expensive. Talia didn't know why she added it. Maybe because expensive felt like control. Maybe because wearing Morel's scent felt like borrowing her composure, her dignity, the kind of presence that made people trust you even when you were scared. She entered the card number. Billing address autofilled. Morel's house. She paused, stayed at the screen. Her finger hovered over place order. A notification popped up. Renata, texting in real time even though Talia hadn't responded yet. You're hesitating. Don't. This is an investment. You'll thank me later. Talia hit place order. Confirmation screen. Estimated delivery, December 20th, evening. She closed the laptop, poured herself coffee, told herself this was temporary, told herself Kian had permission, told herself this was what families did. That night, December 19th, 9:13 p.m., a delivery truck pulled up to Kian's apartment complex. A courier in a brown uniform jogged up the steps, package in hand. Medium-sized box. Expedited shipping. He knocked twice. Kian opened the door, signed the electronic tablet, took the box. Across the street, a porch camera recorded the exchange. Timestamp, 21 hours 13 minutes and 47 seconds. The neighbor, Piotr Zaworski, Pete to the block, had installed the camera 6 months earlier after a string of package thefts. It ran 24/7, cloud backup, motion-activated notifications sent to his phone. Pete glanced at the notification, so it was just a delivery, and went back to watching the evening news. The footage saved automatically. Date, time, address, courier company visible in the frame. The box in Kian's hands. His signature on the tablet. No one thought about it. Not yet. But the timestamp would matter, because the box contained the first purchase made with Morel's card. Ordered the night before the spree. Evidence that Kian knew, had to have known, exactly what was happening before he claimed ignorance. Would you confront someone immediately or gather evidence first? Type confront, or evidence, because what Mail does next changes everything. The mall opened at 10 a.m. Talia was there at 9:52, parked near the lock and bramble entrance, Renata on AirPods coaching her through the plan. Start with the coat, Renata said, voice smooth and certain. The Henderson party is tomorrow. You need to walk in like you belong there, not like you're grateful to be invited. Talia adjusted the rearview mirror, checked her lipstick. She dressed carefully. Black turtleneck, dark jeans, ankle boots that were 2 years old but still looked sharp if you didn't look too close. Presentation. Armor. She walked into Lark and Bramble like she'd done 100 times before. The staff knew her. She'd styled clients here, sent referrals, built relationships. A young associate named Morgan greeted her by name. Talia, are you shopping for yourself today? Talia smiled. Finally. The coat was waiting. They'd held it for her after a client passed on it last week. Too bold, the client said. Too much. But Talia thought it was perfect. Charcoal wool, structured shoulders, the kind of weight that made you stand differently. The kind of coat that said I've made it even if your bank account said otherwise. She tried it on. Morgan clasped her hands together. That's yours. Renata's voice purred in Talia's ear. See? You look like money. Buy it. Talia walked to the register. The coat was $1,850 before tax. She pulled out her phone, opened the screenshot of Morel's card, and read the numbers to Morgan. Morgan swiped it. The terminal beeped. Approved. Talia's heart was racing, but her face stayed calm. She signed the receipt, took the bag, walked out. First purchase, $1,850. Time, 10:14 a.m. She texted Kian. Got the coat. Going to grab your sneakers. His reply came seconds later. You're amazing. Thank you. Talia felt a flicker of something she couldn't name. Pride? Relief? Or the particular kind of high that comes from spending money you know you shouldn't have, and getting away with it. Stop 2. Solari's. A boutique sneaker shop 3 stores down. The kind of place where shoes sit on pedestals like art installations and the staff can recite the backstory of every collaboration. The Travis Scott Jordan 1s. The ones Kian had been obsessively checking on resale apps for months, watching the price climb every week. $620 retail. $1,100 resale. But Solari's had a pair. Size 10.5. Kian sighs. Last one in stock. The associate, a guy in his 20s with sleeve tattoos and spotless Air Force Ones, pulled them from the back. These are moving fast. You're lucky. Talia didn't feel lucky. She felt like she was drowning and spending was the only way to stay afloat. She handed over the card number again. Another swipe. Another approval. $1,150 after tax. Time, 10:41 a.m. Renata was still talking. What else? You're there. You have access. Don't waste it. I should stop, Talia said. Quieter now, walking toward the parking lot. Why? Is the card declining? No, but... Then don't stop. You're fixing problems. That's what this is. You're investing in your future, in Kian's career, in the life you're building. This isn't frivolous. Talia wanted to believe that. She needed to believe that. She drove to the next mall, the luxury department store. Bellwether. Bellwether smelled like wealth. Perfume counters near the entrance, soft lighting, sales associates in tailored black who smiled like they'd been trained to assess your net worth in 3 seconds. Talia walked past the handbags, past the jewelry, straight to the fragrance section. Maison Ardent. The bottle was elegant, minimalist, expensive in a quiet way. $340 for 1.7 ounces. A woman behind the counter offered a sample. Talia sprayed it on her wrist. Vanilla. Powder. Warmth. The same scent Mae used to wear when Talia first met her, back when Kian brought her home for Sunday dinner and Mae hugged her and smelled like someone who had everything figured out. Talia didn't analyze why she wanted it. She just knew she did. She added a cashmere scarf. $280. A set of kitchen knives Renata mentioned needing. $450. A leather tote that looked professional. $620. The register was staffed by a young woman. Name tag, Amoria. 19, maybe 20. Seasonal hire. She had the kind of smile that was friendly but not automatic. Real. Amoria scanned the items. The total climbed. $1,690. Then she scanned the perfume. The terminal beeped. Then beeped again. A different tone. Sharper. Urgent. Amoria's smile faded. She looked at the screen. Then at Talia. Then back at the screen. A message flashed. High-value transaction. Cardholder verification required. Call authorization center. Amoria's training kicked in. She pressed a button under the counter. A supervisor appeared within seconds. Mid-40s. Calm but firm. Is there an issue? Talia asked, voice steady even though her pulse was spiking. The supervisor glanced at the screen. We just need to verify the card. It's flagged for unusual activity. Renata's voice was immediate. Say it's a family card. Don't panic. Smile. Talia smiled. It's a family card. The supervisor's expression didn't change. Can we contact the cardholder to confirm? Talia hesitated. Half a second. But in that pause, Amoria saw something. The hesitation. The glance toward the exit. The way Talia's hand moved to her phone like she was checking for a script. And the perfume. The name on the bottle matched the name on the card. Mae Duarte. Amoria made a note on a pad beside the register. Contemporaneous documentation. Policy. The supervisor asked again. Can we call the cardholder? That's when Kian appeared. He'd been waiting in the car, but something, instinct, maybe, or the text Talia sent that just said help, made him walk in. He stepped up to the counter. Smooth. Calm. The same tone he used in client calls at work. She's in surgery today, he said. No phones allowed. We can call her tonight if you need verification. The supervisor looked at him, at Talia, at the pile of items on the counter. One moment, she said, and walked toward a back office. Talia's hands were shaking. Renata was talking faster now, but Talia couldn't process the words. Kian put his hand on her back. It's fine, he whispered. She's just following protocol. It'll go through. But 50 feet away, In a RAV4 with a cracked windshield, Mae sat with her phone on speaker. Nadine's voice was calm. Procedural. Mrs. Duarte, I'm seeing multiple high-ticket purchases. Do you want me to decline the next authorization? Morel's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Snow was falling. Soft. Relentless. Let it go through, she said. Then freeze the account. I want documentation. Timestamps. Signatures. Everything. Inside Bellwether, the supervisor returned. She nodded to Amoria. The authorization went through. Amoria's smile didn't return. She handed Talia the receipt. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second. Amoria had written a note. She would remember this transaction. The hesitation. The perfume. The lie about the surgery. Total purchases, $74,810. The freeze activated 60 seconds later. But the damage was done. And the evidence was preserved. Is returning everything enough? Or should consequences follow even when restitution is made? Type return, or consequences. Let's see where this community stands. Nadine's voice on the phone was everything mine wasn't in that moment. Steady. Professional. The kind of calm that comes from having protocols for chaos. Mrs. Duarte, I'm showing 4 separate authorizations in the last 90 minutes. 2 different merchants. Total exposure approaching $75,000. This is significantly outside your normal spending pattern. I sat in my car watching snowflakes collect on the windshield, each one a second I couldn't get back. The heater hummed. My phone was on speaker, balanced on my lap. Through the windshield, across 2 rows of parked cars, I could see the Bellwether entrance. I'd followed them. Not the whole time. I'm not a detective, and this isn't a surveillance story. But I'd seen Kian's car in the Lock and Bramble parking lot when I drove past on my way to check on a hospice patient whose family needed transport coordination. His car. Talia in the passenger seat. Shopping bags already visible through the back window. Something in my chest had gone cold and sharp. I'd called my bank, asked for the fraud department, got transferred to Nadine. Mrs. Duarte. Nadine prompted. Would you like me to decline further authorizations? I could have said yes. 1 word. The next swipe would bounce. Talia would stand at a register with a declined card and a pile of items she couldn't pay for. Kian would have to explain. The supervisor would apologize for the inconvenience and quietly note the attempt in their system. Clean. Fast. Immediate. But incomplete. How much detail can you capture if I let the transaction complete? I asked. Nadine paused. I could hear keyboard clicks. If the authorization goes through, we'll log the timestamp, merchant code, transaction amount, and any card-present indicators. If the merchant requires a signature, that's stored on their end. Some terminals capture partial CCTV if the transaction is flagged for review. Flag it, I said. Mrs. Duarte, if you authorize the transaction. I'm not authorizing anything, I said, cutting her off. My voice was sharper than I intended. I softened it. I'm documenting. There's a difference. Nadine was quiet for 3 seconds. When she spoke again, her tone had shifted. Less procedural, more human. You want a record? I want proof, I said. I want timestamps and signatures and every piece of evidence your system can generate. Then I want you to freeze the account the moment the authorization completes. Not before. After. Mrs. Duarte, if losses expand while we're documenting. They won't, I said. This is the last purchase. I can see them from here. Another pause. You're watching this happen. Yes. And you're not stopping it. Not yet. I heard Nadine exhale. Not judgment. Something closer to recognition. Like she'd been in a version of this room before, standing at a similar crossroads. I'll set a soft monitor, she said. Authorization will process. Account freezes immediately after. You'll receive a fraud alert packet within 2 hours with all available documentation. But Mrs. Duarte, if they attempt another transaction before the freeze activates, I can't guarantee containment. They won't, I said again. They think they are getting away with it. People don't push their luck when they think luck is on their side. Nadine made a small sound, almost a laugh. You're not wrong. I've done this work a long time, I said. Cancer wards, hospice. I've watched people make terrible decisions under pressure. The ones who think they are safe, they stop. The ones who know they are caught, they run. Right now, they think they are safe. Through the windshield, I watched Kian and Talia exit Bellwether, bags in hand. Talia was walking fast, head down. Kian had his hand on her back, protective or controlling. Hard to tell from this distance. They loaded the bags into his trunk, got in the car, sat there for a moment, not moving. I wondered what they were saying to each other. If Kian was reassuring her. If Talia was asking the questions she should have asked at breakfast. If either of them was thinking about me at all, or if I'd become an abstraction, a number on a screen, a resource to be managed, permission assumed because asking felt like admitting doubt. The authorization just completed, Nadine said. Freeze is active. Do you want to file a formal dispute? Not yet, I said. I need to handle this a different way first. Mrs. Duarte, if there's an authorized use. There is, I said, but it's complicated, and I need them to understand why before I decide what comes next. Nadine was quiet. Then, you're teaching a lesson. I'm drawing a line, I said. There's a difference. I thanked her, ended the call, sat in the car with the engine running and the snow falling and my hands locked on the steering wheel. I could have confronted them right there, walked across the parking lot, knocked on the window, asked them to explain the bags, the card, the lie about me being in surgery. But public shame doesn't teach. It just humiliates. And humiliation makes people defensive, not reflective. I needed them to sit with what they'd done. I needed them to see the receipts, the signatures, the timestamps, the evidence that this wasn't a misunderstanding or miscommunication. It was a choice. I needed them to see the word I'd written on a place card 3 days ago, sitting in my dining room waiting for Christmas dinner. Consent. Would you have stopped it immediately, or gathered evidence first? Comment, stop, or document. Because what you choose says everything about whether you're teaching or punishing. I drove home, printed the fraud alert email Nadine sent. 4 pages, timestamps down to the second, merchant names, authorization codes, card present indicators showing physical swipes, not online orders. I made copies, cropped them so only the date, time, amount, and signature lines showed. Slipped each one into an envelope. Wrote names on the outside. Kian, Talia, Owen, CEC, Jax. Everyone at Christmas dinner would get one. Not to shame them. To show them what accountability looks like when it's documented instead of whispered. I set the table the way I always did. Plates for 7. Cloth napkins folded into swans because ritual matters, even when the ritual is breaking. And at the head of the table, the empty place card. White cardstock. Black ink. 1 word. Consent. I stood in the doorway looking at it. The word felt heavier than 6 letters should. My father taught me that word when I was 8 years old. He'd caught me taking $1 from his wallet to buy candy at the corner store. He didn't yell, didn't punish, just sat me down and said, "You ask first, Miri. Even family, especially family, because the people you love are the ones who need to trust you most." I paid him back with a week's worth of chore money, apologized, learned. Kian never learned that lesson, because I'd been too soft, too willing to smooth things over, too afraid that boundaries would feel like rejection. But boundaries aren't rejection. They're instructions for safe closeness, and it was time my son learned the difference. The snow fell heavier that night, the kind of snow that makes the world go quiet, muffles sound, erases edges. I sat at my kitchen table with a mug of tea going cold and a stack of receipts I couldn't stop staring at. The photocopies were laid out in chronological order. Lark and bramble, 10:14 a.m. Solaris, 10:41 a.m. Bellwether, 12:33 p.m. The signatures were Tollia's. Looping. Confident. The handwriting of someone who thought they had permission. The billing address was mine. I traced the timeline backward. When had Kian gotten the card details? How long had he been planning this? Then I remembered. The password manager. The family iPad. The tutorial he'd insisted on 4 years ago, framed as helping me, as making this safer. I opened my laptop, logged into the password manager, checked the access log. October 2024. Kian's device. He'd opened the file labeled Emergency, Mom's card. Viewed it for 43 seconds. Didn't edit. Didn't delete. Just looked. I should have felt angry. Betrayed. Furious. Instead, I just felt tired. Because this wasn't sudden. This was a pattern I'd been ignoring for years. The small requests that became assumptions. The "I'll pay you back" that became "you don't mind, right?" The slow erosion of asking into taking. I'd enabled it. By saying yes too easily. By never teaching him that access doesn't equal permission. And now I had to undo it. Not with yelling. Not with cutting him off. But with a lesson he'd remember longer than any argument. My phone buzzed. A text from CEC. "Can I come over? Need to talk about something." I texted back. "Doors open." CEC arrived 20 minutes later, shaking snow off her coat, carrying the blue Christmas tin I'd seen 100 times. She set it on my table without a word, opened it, pulled out a Cash App receipt. "October 13th, she said. "You sent Kian $3,500. Memo says roof deposit." I nodded. He said he found a contractor who could start in November. Needed a deposit to hold the date. C's expression was careful, neutral, the face she makes when she's about to say something I won't want to hear. "I called the contractor you mentioned last summer, Blevins and Sons. And no record, no deposit, no scheduled work." The tea mug in my hands felt like the only solid thing in the room. "He said it was urgent," I said quietly. "He said if he didn't lock in November, we'd have to wait until spring. The tarp wouldn't hold." CEC pulled out another receipt. "November, $800. Memo, insurance help." "Did his insurance lapse?" she asked. "He said he missed a payment because of a billing error. Just needed a bridge." CEC didn't say anything. She just looked at me, waiting. "There's no contractor," I said. Not a question. A realization landing hard and slow. "There's no contractor," CEC confirmed. "And I'm guessing the insurance didn't lapse either." I set the mug down before I could drop it. $4,300. Where did it go? "I don't know," CC said. "But I know where it didn't go." She pulled out a ledger, the one she keeps for family loans. Neat columns. Dates. Amounts. Paid, unpaid status. Kian had 3 entries this year, all marked paid in C's handwriting, except they weren't paid to CC. They were paid forward, transferred to other debts, juggled. "He's been robbing Peter to pay Paul," CC said. "And wait, Peter." I closed my eyes, pressed my palms to the table. "How long have you known?" 2 weeks, CC said. "I wanted to give him a chance to come clean. I thought maybe he'd tell you at Christmas." "He won't," I said. "He thinks he's going to fix it in January. Bonus." CEC made a sound. Sharp. Almost a laugh. "Bonuses aren't guaranteed." "I know." "Does he?" I didn't answer. Because I didn't know. I didn't know what Kian believed in anymore. I didn't know if he was lying to me or lying to himself. "There's more," CC said. She slid another piece of paper across the table. A bank statement. Not mine. Kian's name at the top. But the account number didn't match the checking account I knew he had. "What's this?" "Ask Owen," CC said. "Have you ever discovered a lie and realized it was part of a bigger pattern you'd been ignoring? Drop pattern if you've been here. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the betrayal, it's admitting you saw it coming. Owen's garage smelled like sawdust and motor oil. The same smell I'd associated with him for 30 years, back when we were married, back when I thought his avoidance was just his personality and not a strategy. He was at his workbench when CEC and I walked in, sanding a piece of wood that would probably become a shelf for someone's mudroom. He didn't look up. "We need to talk about Cian," CEC said. Owen kept sanding. "He's fine." "He's $42,000 in debt," I said. The sanding stopped. Owen set the wood down, wiped his hands on a rag. Still didn't look at us. "How do you know that?" he asked. CEC held up the bank statement. "Because you opened an account in his name and never told anyone." Owen's jaw tightened. He turned around slowly. "That was 15 years ago." "It's still active," he said. "Still has his name. Still gets statements sent to an email address he shares with Talia." "I was trying to help," Owen said. His voice was defensive. "Tired. After the divorce. I wanted him to have something. A cushion. I put gig money in there. Side jobs. Cash work. I thought if he ever needed it." "You hid it from me," I said. Owen finally met my eyes. "You were drowning, Miri. Medical bills. Lawyers. I couldn't add to it. I thought if I could just give him something without you having to worry." "You taught him to hide money," I said. "You taught him that secrecy is love." Owen flinched. "I was protecting him." "From what?" CC asked. "From learning how to be honest. From understanding that families talk about money instead of moving it in the dark." Owen didn't answer. He picked up the rag again, folded it, unfolded it. His hands needed something to do. "How much is in the account now?" I asked. "Maybe 3,000, Owen said. "I stopped adding to it after he graduated college. Figured he was making his own money by then." "Did you tell him about it?" CC pressed. Owen hesitated. That hesitation told me everything. "You told him," I said. "Last year," Owen admitted. "He called me. Said he was tight on cash. I told him there was money in the account. Custodial. He could access it if he filed the right paperwork." "Did he?" Owen shook his head. "I don't think so. The balance hasn't moved." I felt something crack open in my chest. Not anger. Something worse. Clarity. "He had $3,000 he could access legally," I said slowly. "And instead of using it, he took $75,000 from me without asking." Owen's face went pale. 75, Miri, what are you talking about?" CEC handed him one of the photocopied receipts. "Saturday. His wife. Your son's card details. Morel's account." Owen stared at the paper. His hands were shaking. "Jesus Christ." "He had options," I said. My voice was steady, but my hands were fists under the table. "He had your account. He had credit. He had a paycheck. He chose to take from me because he thought I wouldn't notice. Or I wouldn't care. Or I'd just forgive him because that's what I always do." Owen set the receipt down like it was burning his fingers. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to teach him what you didn't," I said. "That love without boundaries isn't love. It's enabling. And I'm done enabling." CC stood. "We need to go. Christmas dinner is in 2 days. Mael has some place cards to finish." Owen looked at me. His eyes were wet. Regret, maybe. Or fear. "Miri, I'm sorry. I thought I was helping." "You thought you were being a hero," I said. "But heroes don't hide. They show up. And you've been hiding since the divorce." I walked out of the garage. CEC followed. The snow was still falling. Quiet. Relentless. "Are you okay?" CEC asked when we got to my car. "No," I said. "But I will be." "What's the plan?" I looked at her. My sister. The one who kept the receipts. The one who asked the hard questions. The one who never let me lie to myself. "Christmas dinner," I said. Everyone at the table. Receipts under the plates. The empty place card at the head. And then we're going to have the conversation this family should have had 15 years ago. About money. About consent, I said. About the difference between helping and taking. About the fact that secrecy dressed up as protection is still secrecy. And it ends now. CEC nodded. I'll bring the tin. Bring the tin, I said. And bring the receipts. All of them. Because this isn't just about Kian. It's about the pattern. And we're going to break it. Is secrecy ever justified if the intent is protection? Or does hiding always plant seeds of mistrust? Comment secrecy, or honesty, because this family is about to find out which one they've been living in. The call came from St. Catherine's on Sunday morning. A volunteer named Maria, voice bright and apologetic at the same time. Mrs. Duarte? This is Maria Ochoa from the Church Donation Center. We have something that belongs to your father. I was in the middle of folding napkins for Christmas dinner, the swan shape my mother taught me, the kind that takes 3 tries and steady hands. I set one down, half finished. My father. Yes. Joaquim Rocha? We found an envelope in a coat pocket. It has your name on it. My chest tightened. What kind of envelope? It's sealed, Maria said. But there's a note on the outside. It says, for MS Roof, so she keeps her safety. We thought you should have it before Christmas. I closed my eyes. The napkin in my hand crumpled. An hour later, I was at the Church Donation Center, a converted garage behind the parish hall that smelled like mothballs and dry sheets. Maria met me at the door, holding a thick white envelope with my father's handwriting across the front. I recognized it immediately. His cursive, shaky but deliberate. The way he wrote after his hand started to betray him, but his mind stayed sharp. A teenager turned it in, Maria explained. Dylan Herrera. He volunteers here sorting coats on Saturdays. He recognized your dad's name from bingo nights. Where did the coat come from? I asked, though I already knew. Maria checked a clipboard. Donated Thursday. Pick up from a Joaquim Rocha on Maple Street. I held the envelope. It was heavy, the kind of heavy that comes from cash, not checks. My father didn't trust banks for this kind of thing. He believed in paper you could see and count and fold into your hand. Can I open it here? I asked. Maria nodded. Of course. I tore the seal carefully. Inside, 4 to 2 $100 bills. Crisp, sequential. The kind you get from a bank teller when you specifically request new bills because you want the gift to feel clean. Official. And a note, written on lined paper torn from a spiral notebook. Mary, you spend too much time taking care of everyone else. The roof needs fixing before winter. I know you saved for it, but use this instead. Keep your CDS, keep your safety. You earned it. This is from your mother's memory and mine. We're proud of you. Don't argue. Love, Dad. I read it 3 times. The handwriting wobbled in places, but every word was clear. Intentional. He'd been planning this for months, maybe years. Saving overtime checks from a job he retired from a decade ago, stockpiling small additions from his pension, waiting for the right moment to hand it over. And then he forgot where he put it. I folded the note back into the envelope. My hands were shaking. Are you okay? Maria asked gently. I nodded, but I wasn't. Because this envelope, this $4,200 in cash with a note about safety, was exactly what Kian should have understood. What Owen should have taught him. Money isn't just numbers. It's intention. It's sacrifice. It's the 30 years my father spent measuring metal to the thousandth of an inch so his daughter could have a roof that didn't leak. And my son had taken $75,000 from me without asking, while my father was trying to give me $4,200 with nothing but love attached. The contrast was unbearable. I drove to my father's house, let myself in with the spare key he kept under the third porch plank. The house was warm. Too warm. He always kept the thermostat at 7 to 4 because cold reminded him of the machine shop in winter, and he'd had enough of that. He was in his recliner, watching a game show, volume too loud. "Dad," I said, loud enough to cut through the TV. He turned, smiled. "Miri, you're early for dinner." "Dinner's not until Tuesday," I said. "It's Sunday." He blinked, recalibrated. "Right, Sunday. I knew that." I sat on the ottoman in front of him, held up the envelope. His eyes widened. "Where did you find that?" "Church donation center," I said. "You put it in a coat pocket. Then you donated the coat." Jax's face went through 3 expressions in 2 seconds. Confusion, recognition, embarrassment. "Damn it," he muttered. "I forgot." "It's okay," I said. "Dylan Herrera found it. Turned it in. Maria called me." Jax leaned back, rubbed his face with both hands. "I had a whole plan. I was going to hand it to you at Christmas dinner. Make a speech. Tell you that you deserved to keep your savings. That your mother would have wanted you safe." "You still can," I said. He shook his head. "It's not the same if you already know." "Dad, the gift isn't the surprise. It's the intention. And I need you to tell me something." He looked at me, wary now. "What?" "Did you ever take money from someone without asking? Even family?" Jax's expression hardened. The machine shop precision came back into his face. "Never. Not once." "Not once," he said firmly. "You ask first, Miri. Even if you know they'll say yes. Even if it's your wife or your brother or your kid. You ask. Because taking without permission isn't borrowing. It's theft. And theft rots trust from the inside." I felt something loosen in my chest. Validation. Confirmation. The line I'd been trying to draw wasn't arbitrary. It was real. My father had taught it to me 30 years ago. And I'd let it blur because I was tired and afraid and too willing to smooth things over. "Kian took $75,000 from me without asking," I said. Jax went still. "What?" "Saturday. He gave Talia my card details. She bought coats and shoes and perfume. $75,000. They thought I wouldn't notice, or that I'd forgive them because we're family." Jax's hands gripped the armrests. "Did you stop them?" "I let it finish," I said. "I documented everything. Receipts, timestamps, signatures. Then I froze the account." "Why let it finish?" "Because stopping it would have taught them I'm watching. Documenting it teaches them that actions have records, that consequences follow choices, that I'm not going to rescue them from the truth." Jax nodded slowly. "You're teaching the lesson I taught you." "I'm trying," I said. "But I need you at Christmas dinner. I need you to tell them what you just told me. That asking matters. That consent is the line." Jax looked at the envelope in my hands. "Keep that," he said. "Use it for the roof. Or don't. Just keep it safe. Because that's what it's for. Safety. Not fixing other people's mistakes." I hugged him. He smelled like Old Spice and coffee and the particular kind of certainty that comes from a lifetime of straight lines and right angles. "I love you, Dad," I said. "I love you, Miri. Now go draw your line." Have you ever had family blur the line between help and control? Between giving and taking? Drop line if you've had to redraw boundaries with people you love. Christmas dinner was at 6. I started setting the table at 3. 7 plates. 7 napkins folded into swans. 7 forks. 7 knives. 7 spoons polished until they reflected the overhead light. The table runner was the one my mother embroidered in 1987, tiny poinsettias along the edges, red thread that had faded to rust but still held. Under each plate, I slipped an envelope. White, unsealed, each one labeled with a name written in my neatest handwriting. Kian, Talia, Owen, C.C., Jax, Renata, and one for me, because I needed to own my part in this too. The years of saying yes when I should have said ask me first. the softness that became permission by default. Inside each envelope, a photocopied receipt, cropped to show only the date, the time, the merchant, the amount, and the signature line. No explanation, no accusation, just evidence. At the head of the table, the empty place setting. The white place card with one word in black ink. Consent. The house smelled like cinnamon and cloves. I'd made my mother's wassail recipe, the one with apple cider and orange slices and whole spices that simmered for hours until the smell soaked into the walls. Comfort food. The olfactory equivalent of a hug. But comfort wasn't the goal tonight. Clarity was. They arrived in waves. CEC first, carrying her blue tin and a casserole dish covered in foil. She saw the table and nodded once. Approval. Solidarity. Jax came next, moving slower than last year but steady. He glanced at the place card. Didn't ask. Just sat in his usual spot and waited. Owen arrived 10 minutes late, apologetic, carrying a store-bought pie. He avoided my eyes, took his seat, stared at the napkin swung like it might come to life. Renata showed up in a cloud of expensive perfume and nervous energy. She hugged me too long. Thank you for including me, Mael. I know this is family. You're Talia's mother, I said. That makes you family. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She sat next to the empty place card and frowned at it. What's this? You'll see, I said. Kian and Talia were lost. 20 minutes late. They walked in together, Talia carrying a bottle of wine neither of them probably wanted to spend money on. She looked exhausted. Kian looked like he was holding his breath. Sorry we're late, Kian said. Traffic. There was no traffic. It was Christmas Eve. The roads were empty, but I didn't call him on it. I just smiled. You're here now. Sit. They Saturday. Kian across from me, Talia next to him, diagonal from Renata. Everyone was staring at the empty place setting. The single word on the card. Shall we say grace? I asked. We held hands. Jax led, the way he always did, his voice steady and formal. Bless this food and the hands that prepared it. Bless this family and the love that binds us. And bless the lessons we're about to learn. Amen. I felt Kian's hand twitch in mine at that last line. Amen, everyone echoed. I released their hands, picked up my napkin. Before we eat, there's something under your plates. I'd like everyone to open their envelopes. Silence, the kind that presses against your eardrums. CEC opened hers first. She already knew what was inside, but she played her part. She unfolded the paper. Read it. Set it down without expression. Jax opened his. Frowned. Looked at me. Looked at Kian. Understanding settled over his face like a shadow. Owen opened his slowly. His hands shook. He read the receipt twice. Set it down. Didn't look up. Renata opened hers. Her face went pale. What is this? Open yours, Kian, I said. Kian didn't move. His envelope sat under his plate, edges visible. Kian, I said again. Softer. Open it. He picked it up, pulled out the paper, stayed at it. It was the receipt from Lark and Bramble. The coat. $1,850. Signature line at the bottom. Talia Voss. Talia opened hers. Solari's. The sneakers. $1,150. Same signature. I let the silence stretch. Let them sit in it. Let the weight of the paper in their hands become unbearable. Whose handwriting is this? I asked. Talia's voice was barely a whisper. Mine. And whose card? Silence. Whose? Card, I repeated. Yours, Kian said. His voice cracked. Did you ask permission to use my card? More silence. Kian, did you ask? No, he said. Did you tell me you were going to use it? No. Did you have my consent? He looked at me. His eyes were red. No. Renata's phone buzzed. She glanced at it. Her face went from pale to gray. What is it? Talia asked. Renata set the phone down. Screen up. The text was visible to everyone at the table. If she cancels, we're ruined. Call me now. The sender, a number not saved in her contacts. The kind of number that doesn't want to be traced. Who's that? I asked. Renata's hands were shaking. No one. Renata, I said. My voice was steel now. Who sent that text? Talia's face crumpled. It's a loan company. What kind of loan company? CEC asked. The kind that charges 50% interest, Talia said, and then she was crying. Ugly crying. The kind you can't fake. Mom took out a loan to cover her salon remodel. She's 2 months behind. They threatened to put a lien on the building. She told me if I didn't use your card, if I didn't get the coat and the right look for the Henderson party, she said we'd lose everything. The table went silent. The kind of silent where you can hear people breathing. I looked at Renata. You told your daughter to steal from me to cover your debt. Renata's mouth opened. Closed. I didn't. It wasn't. Answer the question. I told her to use resources, Renata said. Her voice was shaking. Families share. Families help. That's what you people do, isn't it? You pass money around like... Like what? Jack said. His voice was quiet, dangerous. Say it. Renata went silent. You told my granddaughter-in-law to commit fraud, Jax continued, so you could cover a loan you took from criminals. And you're sitting at this table acting like we're the problem. I didn't force her, Renata said. Talia made her own choices. You coached her through an iPod, I said. We have the store supervisor's notes. We have the timestamp. You were on the line telling her what to say. Renata stood. I'm not staying for this. Sit down, CC said. Not loud. Just firm. You don't leave until we're done. Renata Saturday. I looked at Kian, at Talia, at the receipts under their hands. This isn't about the money, I said. It's about the word on that place card. Consent. The difference between helping and taking. Between asking and assuming. Between family and theft. I was going to pay you back, Kian said. His voice was desperate now. Pleading. January. My bonus. I had a plan. Your plan required my money without my permission, I said. That's not a plan. That's theft with a deadline. Talia was still crying. I'm so sorry. I thought it was okay. I thought because you're family. Family makes it worse, Jack said. Not better. Because the people you love are the ones who need to trust you most. The wassail simmered on the stove. The poinsettia runner reflected the overhead light. The swan sat folded and perfect next to plates no one was touching. And at the head of the table, the empty place setting held space for the one thing that had been missing from this family for too long. Consent. If you discovered someone you love put pressure on someone else to steal from you, would you hold both accountable? Or just the person who took? Drop, both, or one? Because blame doesn't split evenly just because intentions were complicated. CEC was the one who brought it up. She always was the one who asked the questions no one else wanted to touch. Kian, she said, setting her fork down, when did you first give Talia the card details? Kian's jaw tightened. Saturday morning. Over breakfast. And that was the first time she'd seen them. Yes, he said. CEC pulled out her phone. Opened a video file. Set the phone in the center of the table. This is from Pete Zaworski's porch camera. Across the street from your apartment. December 19th. 9:13 p.m. She pressed play. The video was grainy but clear enough. A delivery truck. A courier in a brown uniform jogging up the steps to Kian's apartment. A knock. The door opening. Kian stepping into the frame. Taking a medium-sized box. Signing the electronic tablet. Timestamp visible in the corner. 21 hours 13 minutes and 47 seconds. CEC paused the video. That's you. Kian stayed at the screen. Yeah. So. So that package was ordered using Morel's card, CCE said. Friday night. Expedited shipping. Delivered Saturday evening. Want to tell us what was in it? Silence. Kian, I said. He closed his eyes. Sneakers. The same sneakers Talia bought Saturday afternoon. CCE asked. No, different ones. For me. He stopped. Opened his eyes. I ordered them Friday. I thought if I bought one thing, something small, and paid her back fast, it would prove the system worked. That I could borrow and replace before she noticed. So you lied, Jack said. You told us Saturday morning was the first time, but you used her card the night before. I didn't think. You didn't think it would count. Owen interrupted. His voice was raw, angry. You thought test driving theft was different than committing it. Kian's face went red. I was trying to solve a problem. By creating a bigger one, Owen said. Jesus, Kian, I taught you that. You taught me to hide things, Kian shot back. You taught me that secrets are easier than conversations, that moving money in the dark is fine as long as no one finds out. Owen flinched. The truth landed like a slap. You're right, Owen said quietly. I did, and I'm sorry. The table went quiet again. I looked at the video still frozen on C's phone. My son signing for a package paid for with my money. The timestamp proving he'd lied about when this started. What else did you order? I asked. Kian didn't answer. Kian, what else? A jacket, he said. For work. And a watch. I thought if I looked more senior, if I presented better, maybe they'd promote me without waiting for the bonus. How much? CEC asked. The jacket was $800. The watch was $12. I did the math. $2,420 on Friday night. Then $75,000 on Saturday. Total damage, $77,420. Kian's head dropped into his hands. Talia was staring at him. You used it the night before. I was going to tell you, Kian said through his hands. I swear I was going to tell you. When? Talia asked. When were you going to tell me you'd already crossed the line before you asked me to cross it with you? I don't know, Kian said. I couldn't fix it alone. I needed help. And you're my wife. I thought. You thought you'd make me complicit so I couldn't judge you, Talia said. Her voice was cold now. Clear. You thought if we both did it, we'd both be guilty, and I'd have to stay quiet. Kian looked up. That's exactly what you did, Talia said. And I fell for it. She stood, looked at me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to fix this, but I'll try. I'll do whatever you need me to do. Sit down, I said gently. We're not done. She Saturday. I looked at Kian, at the boy I raised, the man who learned the wrong lessons from the wrong teachers and built a life on sand. The video proves you lied about the timeline, I said. The receipts prove you didn't ask permission. The statements CC pulled prove you've been juggling debts for months. And the custodial account Owen told us about proves you had other options. I know, Kian whispered. Do you? I asked. Because knowing and understanding are different things. I understand, he said. Then explain it to me, I said. Explain why you chose to take from me when you had legal alternatives. When you had a father with a savings account in your name. When you had a paycheck and credit and time to ask for help. Kian looked at me. His eyes were wet, desperate. Because asking felt like failing, he said. And I couldn't fail. Not in front of you. Not after everything you sacrificed. I thought if I could just fix it myself, quietly, quickly, I thought I could be the son you deserved instead of the one I am. The words hung in the air. Honest. Brutal. True. Kian, I said softly, I never needed you to be perfect. I needed you to be honest. He started crying. Not quiet tears. Sobs. The kind that shake your whole body. And I let him. Because some lessons require grief. Would you confront immediately after finding proof? Or gather everything first? Drop confront, or gather, because timing changes the shape of accountability. Dessert sat untouched. The pie Owen brought. The cookies Cece baked. No one had an appetite. I pulled out one more envelope. This one wasn't under a plate. I'd kept it in my pocket. There's something else you need to see, I said. I handed it to Kian. He opened it slowly. Inside, a photocopy of a handwritten note on Bellwether department store letterhead. Dated December 21st, signed by Amoria Klein, sales associate. Kian read it aloud, his voice shaking. Customer presented card for purchase of fragrance and accessories. Total $1,690. POS terminal flag transaction for verification. When asked if cardholder was present, customer stated family card. Male companion stated cardholder was in surgery, no phones allowed. Companion's tone was confident, rehearsed. Customer's behavior, hesitant, glancing toward exit, checking phone as if receiving instructions. Signature on receipt does not match cardholder name on file. Fragrance purchase matches cardholder name, Maison Ardent, Mael. Recommend follow-up. Note written per LP Protocol 4.7b. Kian set the note down. She thought we were stealing. You were, I said. But we're family, Talia said. We weren't strangers. That's wise, CE said. Strangers steal because they don't know you. Family steals because they think they can get away with it. I pulled out my phone, opened an email from Nadine. The bank annotated the account. Partial reversals on the returned items. The rest stays flagged as unauthorized unless I file a formal dispute. Are you going to? Kian asked. I don't know yet, I said. That depends on what happens next. What do you want us to do? Talia asked. I looked at both of them. At Renata, still pale and silent. At Owen, staring at his hands. At CEC and Jax, my anchors. I want you to go back to every store tomorrow, I said. I want you to return everything that can be returned. I want you to bring me the receipts. And I want you to apologize to Amoria. In person. Not for getting caught. For putting her in a position where she had to choose between policy and empathy. Okay, Talia whispered. I want you to call the microloan company with me on speaker, I said to Renata. I want you to negotiate a legal repayment plan. And I want you to stop coaching your daughter to treat other people's money like it's a strategy. Renata nodded. She didn't argue. And Kian, I said, I want you to sit down with CC and build a real budget. Not a fantasy. A plan. With timelines and accountability. You're going to pay me back what can't be returned. Monthly. In writing. And you're going to join me for a financial literacy workshop in January. Okay, Kian said. And one more thing, I said. I stood, walked to the head of the table, picked up the place card. Consent. I held it up. This word sits at every table from now on. Every decision. Every request. Every time you think about using someone else's resources. You ask. You wait for an answer. And if the answer is no, you accept it. Because the people you love are the ones who need to trust you most. I set the card down in front of Kian. Keep this. Put it somewhere you'll see it every day. And remember what it cost to forget it. He picked it up, held it like it weighed more than paper should. I'm sorry, Mom, he said. I know, I said. Now prove it. The dinner ended quietly. People left in the same waves they'd arrived. CEC stayed to help me clean. We worked in silence, scraping plates, wrapping leftovers, washing swans back into napkins. You did good, CEC said. I did what I should have done years ago, I said. Better late than never. I dried a plate, set it in the cabinet. Do you think he'll actually change? I think you gave him a map, CCE said. Whether he follows it is up to him. I nodded, folded the dish towel, looked at the empty table. The place card was gone. Kian had taken it. That was something. Is returning everything enough? Or should legal consequences follow even when restitution is made? Drop return, or consequences, because mercy and accountability don't always align. The call happened the next morning, December 26, 10 a.m. My kitchen table. Renata sitting across from me, hand shaking. Kian and Talia on either side. CEC standing behind me like a witness at a deposition. I'd asked Renata to bring her phone, to pull up the texts, to show us exactly what she'd gotten herself into. She unlocked the screen and slid it across the table. The messages started in September. A company called Apex Rapid Capital. No website I could find. No physical address. Just a phone number and a promise. Funds in 24 hours. No credit check. Business owners only. Renata had borrowed $8,500 to finish her salon remodel. The terms were buried in a PDF she'd signed electronically without reading. Interest rate, 47% annually. Repayment period, 6 months. Fees for late payment, $300 per week, compounding. She'd made 2 payments, then missed October, then November, then December. The texts escalated in tone and frequency. Your account is past due. Contact us immediately. Failure to respond will result in collections referral. We have legal options. Call today. Final notice. Lien proceedings begin Monday. The last one, sent Christmas Eve at 11:47 p.m. If she cancels, we're ruined. Call me now. Who is she? I asked. Renata's voice was barely audible. You told them about me. I told them Talia's mother-in-law had resources, Renata said. They said if I could get a family member to co-sign or advance funds, they'd restructure the loan. Restructure, CEC repeated. Not forgive. Restructure. They said it would lower the payments, Renata said. By adding you to the hook, CEC said. That's not help. That's expanding the trap. I looked at the phone, at the number. Call them. Renata's eyes widened. Now, I said. On speaker. We're all going to hear exactly what you agreed to. Her hands were shaking so hard she could barely dial. The call connected on the second ring. Apex Rapid Capital. This is Derek. Account number. Renata recited it. Her voice cracked halfway through. Ms. Voss. Good morning. I see you're significantly past due. We've been trying to reach you. I'm here now, Renata said. Outstanding balance is $11,340. That includes principal, interest, and late fees. We need payment in full by December 31st, or we proceed with lien filing on your business property. I don't have $11,000, Renata said. Derek's voice didn't change. Smooth. Practiced. Then we'll need to discuss alternative arrangements. Do you have a family member who can advance funds or co-sign a restructure agreement? No, I said, leaning toward the phone. Silence on the other end. Then, who's speaking? Miel Duarte. Renata's daughter is married to my son, and I'm not co-signing anything. Derek's tone shifted. Still smooth, but sharper now. Ms. Duarte, we're offering a family assistance program. If you provide a one-time advance of $6,000, we'll restructure Ms. Voss's loan to $8,000 at 35% over 12 months. It's a significant reduction. It's a scam, he said. Excuse me. Derek said. You heard me, CC said. You're trying to pull another person into a predatory loan by framing it as help. I want your terms in writing. Full disclosure. Sent to an email address I'll provide. You have 48 hours. We don't typically. Then you don't get paid, CC said. Because I'm a tax preparer, and I know exactly what the FTC says about disclosure requirements. You want your money. You send the terms. In writing. With your company's registered business information. Or we report you. Derek went quiet. The kind of quiet that means someone's calculating whether the fight is worth it. I'll send the documentation, he said finally. Good, CC said. And while you're at it, you're going to stop texting Ms. Voss after 9 p.m. You're going to stop threatening Linds you can't legally file without a court order. And you're going to negotiate a payment plan that doesn't require family involvement. Or we're filing complaints with every regulatory body I can find. We're just trying to collect what's owed, Derek said. Then collect it legally, CC said. 48 hours. Email incoming. She reached over and ended the call. The kitchen was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. Renata was crying. Quiet, humiliated tears. I didn't know it was illegal. It's not illegal, CC said. It's predatory. There's a difference. They operate in gray zones. High interest isn't illegal if you agree to it. But the tactics, the threats, the night texts, the pressure to involve family, those cross lines. What do I do? Renata asked. You wait for the email, CC said. You read every word. And then you negotiate a plan that doesn't destroy you or drag anyone else down with you. I looked at Renata, at this woman who'd coached her daughter through theft because she was drowning and didn't know how to ask for help. Why didn't you just tell Talia the truth? I asked. Renata wiped her eyes. Because I'm supposed to be the one with answers. I'm supposed to be the one who knows how to handle money and image and success. If I admitted I was failing, if I told her I took a loan from criminals because I couldn't get approved anywhere else, what kind of mother does that make me? A human one, I said. We all make mistakes, Renata. The difference is whether we own them or pass them down. She nodded, didn't argue, just sat there holding her phone like it might explode. Kian, who'd been silent the whole time, finally spoke. I'm going to help you pay it back. Renata looked at him. What? Not all of it, Kian said, but some. Because you pressured Talia because you were desperate. And I pressured Talia because I was desperate. We both put her in an impossible position. So I'm going to help fix it. Kian, you can't afford. I'll figure it out, Kian said. Cease going to help me build a budget. A real one. And part of that budget is going to include paying you back enough to stabilize your plan. Not because I owe you. Because I owe Talia the proof that I'm done hiding. Talia looked at him. Her expression was complicated. Hurt and hope fighting for space. Okay, she said quietly. Have you ever been pressured by desperation into pressuring someone else? Drop desperation if you've been caught in that cycle. Sometimes the hardest part is admitting the chain reaction started with you. That afternoon, Talia and I sat alone in my kitchen. Kian had gone to meet CCE at her house to start the budget. Renata had gone home to wait for the email. Orion and Jax had left after breakfast. It was just the two of us. Talia, holding a mug of tea she wasn't drinking. Me, holding a folder full of receipts. I need to know something, I said. And I need you to be honest. Talia nodded. Did you know this was wrong while you were doing it? She didn't answer right away. She stayed into the mug. Watched the steam rise. Yes, she said finally. I knew, but I also didn't. Does that make sense? No, I said. Explain it. She took a breath. I knew it wasn't technically okay. I knew Kian should have asked you, but he framed it like it was already approved. Like you'd given permission and just hadn't said the words out loud. And my mom kept saying families do this. That borrowing from family is normal. That you'd understand. So you let other people's certainty override your doubt, I said. Yeah, Talia whispered. I let their voices get louder than my own. I slid the folder across the table. These are the receipts from the stores. The ones we can return. I need you to take them back tomorrow. In person. With me. Her eyes widened. With you. With me, I said. Not as punishment. As accountability. I want you to look the staff in the eye. I want you to apologize to Amoria for putting her in a position where she had to choose between her job and her conscience. And I want you to see what restitution looks like when it's done with dignity. Talia's hands were shaking. What if they call the police? They won't, I said, because I'm going to be there. And I'm going to tell them this was a family situation that's being resolved privately. But Talia, if you don't do this, if you try to hide or deflect or make excuses, then I will file a formal complaint. And that will follow you. She nodded. I'll do it. Good, I said. Now tell me about the perfume. She blinked. What? The Maison Ardent. Why that one? Talia looked down. Because it's what you used to wear. When I first met you, you hugged me at Sunday dinner and you smelled like someone who had everything figured out. And I thought if I wore it, maybe I could borrow some of that. Some of your calm. Your certainty. I felt something crack in my chest. Not anger. Sadness. Talia, I don't have it figured out, I said. I'm 56 years old and I still don't know what I'm doing half the time. The only difference between me and you is that I learned to ask for help instead of pretending I didn't need it. But you never ask, Talia said. You never need anything from anyone. That's not strength, I said. That's fear. I spent years being the one who gave and never received because I was terrified of being a burden. And that fear made me an easy target. Because people knew I'd say yes. That I'd smooth things over. That I'd rescue without boundaries. So what changed? Talia asked. This, I said, gesturing to the receipts. You and Kian taking $77,000 without asking. That changed it, because I finally saw what my softness had created. A family that didn't know where the line was because I'd never drawn one. Talia was crying now. I'm so sorry. I know, I said, and I believe you. But sorry isn't enough. You need to understand why this was wrong. Not because you got caught. Not because I'm upset. But because consent is the foundation of every relationship. And without it, love becomes control. Help becomes theft. Family becomes a weapon. She nodded, wiped her eyes. I'm going to offer you two paths, I said. Path 1, we retain everything tomorrow. You apologize to the staff. You and Kian sign a repayment agreement for anything that can't be returned. You show up to the financial literacy workshop in January, and we rebuild trust slowly, with boundaries. What's path 2? Talia asked. Path 2, I file a formal dispute with the bank. I provide the documentation to the police. I let the system handle it. You face legal consequences, and we don't have a relationship anymore. Talia's face went pale. I'll take path 1. Then prove it, I said. Starting tomorrow. Would you offer a second chance with strict boundaries, or let consequences follow their legal path? Drop chance, or consequences. Because mercy and accountability don't always look the same. The returns took 3 hours. Talia and I went to every store. Lark and Bramble. Solari's. Bellwether. She carried the bags. I carried the receipts. At each stop, she explained. Not in detail. Just enough. I used a family member's card without explicit permission. I'm returning the items. I'm sorry for any inconvenience. Some staff were kind. Some were confused. One asked if we needed security. I explained it was resolved privately. They processed the returns without argument. At Bellwether, we asked for Amoria. She came to the counter wary, professional. She recognized Talia immediately. Hi, Talia said. Her voice shook. I'm returning the items I purchased Saturday, and I owe you an apology. Amoria crossed her arms. Okay. You were doing your job, Talia said. You saw something that didn't feel right, and you followed protocol. I put you in a position where you had to choose between being kind and being cautious. I'm sorry. That wasn't fair to you. Amoria's expression softened. Just slightly. Did you steal the card? No, I said, stepping forward. I'm Mae, the cardholder. My son gave her my card information without my permission. It's being handled within the family. But she's right, you did your job well. And I'm grateful. Amoria nodded slowly. Okay, I'll process the returns. She scanned the items, printed the receipts, handed them to me. Thank you, I said. Yeah, Amoria said. Then, quieter, I'm glad you're handling it. A lot of people wouldn't. We left, walked to the car in silence. Talia was crying again, but softer now. The kind of crying that's closer to relief than grief. That was hard, she said. It's supposed to be, I said. That's how you know it's real. By New Year's Eve, the pieces were moving. Jax's envelope, $4,200, went to the roofing contractor as a deposit. The remainder would come from my CD ladder, exactly as planned. But now the deposit carried weight. Intention. A gift that stayed a gift instead of becoming a patch for someone else's hole. Owen transferred $2,000 from the custodial account he'd kept secret for years. He gave it to me with a handwritten note. For the roof. For the lessons I should have taught. I'm sorry. I put it toward the contractor. And I forgave him. Not because the money fixed anything. But because secrecy ends when someone chooses honesty. Talia listed her boutique inventory online. Selling at cost. Not for profit. Just to clear the debt. She made $1,800 in the first week. Every dollar went into an envelope labeled repayment. Mail. Kian drafted a repayment plan with CEC. 12 months. $400 per month for the items that couldn't be retained. Signed. Witnessed. Notarized. He also blocked Renata's number from their shared finances. Not out of cruelty. Out of boundaries. He told Talia, we help your mom when we can. But we don't let her help us by hurting someone else. Talia agreed. Renata got the email from Apex. CEC reviewed it. Negotiated a structured plan, $250 per month for 36 months. High, but survivable. Legal. Documented. Renata signed it. Then she came to my house and apologized. Not a performance. A real apology. I taught my daughter the wrong things. I'm trying to unlearn them. I accepted it, not because it erased the damage, but because change starts with admission. On January 3rd, I sent a calendar invite to the family. Subject, budget night. Location, Morel's house. Time, 6 p.m., first Friday of every month. Agenda, financial literacy. Debt tracking. Accountability without shame. Everyone accepted. Even Renata. The roof crew started January 10th. It took 4 days. When they finished, the tarp was gone. The leaks were sealed. The house felt solid again. I stood in the driveway looking up at the new shingles. Jack stood next to me. Looks good, he said. Feels better, I said. You drew the line, he said. I did. Proud of you, Miri. I leaned into him. Let the weight of the past month settle into something manageable. Not gone. Just carried differently. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a stack of voided receipts. The ones from the returns. The ones that proved restitution was possible. That mistakes could be undone, even if the lessons stayed. I put them in a folder labeled consent. Then I opened my laptop. Wrote an email to the family. We've all seen lines blur. Between help and control. Between love and obligation. Between asking and taking. Where we redraw those lines matters. Not just for us, but for the people we'll teach next. Budget night starts next week. Bring your questions. Bring your shame. Bring your hope. We'll figure it out together. With love and boundaries. Mail. I hit send. Outside. Snow was falling. Quiet. Relentless. Covering the old year with something clean. The calendar alert pinged. January. Budget night. Everyone invited. Not vengeance. Education. Not punishment. Restoration. Not the end. The beginning. We've all seen lines blur in families. Between generosity and expectation. between helping and enabling. Where do you redraw yours? Drop your story below, because the boundaries we set today become the safety nets our kids inherit tomorrow. If this story resonated, subscribe for more emotional storytelling rooted in real decisions and hard-won lessons. See you soon.